Want to move on now to what European Central Command did early this morning. So we're about 40 minutes from going on the air, and all of a sudden we get this video approved by the administration, and it's the video from Tuesday. This Russian fighter jet that forced the downing of a $32 million U.S. drone. There's the fighter jet. That contrail you're seeing, that is gas. All right, so trying to take out basically the seeing eye of this drone. You can see the propeller there. According to General Holt, this fighter jet on the Russian side, not a great pilot.
Yeah.
He clipped the drone. He thinks inadvertently could have damaged his own plane, could have brought his own plane down, but ultimately that forced European Central Command to take down that drone in the Black Sea. The Russians are trying to recover that drone because we don't have ships there. Joe Biden pulled all our ships out before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Let's welcome back in commentary editor for the Washington Times, Kelly Sadler, and radio host Christopher Arps. Kelly, to you first. What do you think, what message does this send to the world now that we haven't responded in any way to what Russia did on Tuesday? And just want to get your reaction to what General Holt's take on that. Do you think this was an accident? This was something that Putin didn't approve of well beforehand?
I don't believe it was an accident. I believe that this came down directly from and was to provoke us, the United States, and that our reaction to it was basically like, yeah, we were in international waters. We were operating within, our realms. Everything's okay. We don't want to provoke Russia, though, so we're not going to hit back at all. And I think that just demonstrates our weakness yet again. It's embarrassing to be an American. You have the best military in the world, and having all of these provocations by our adversaries like China, like Russia, just go completely unanswered.
Yeah, Chris, take a listen to what Mark Milley had to say.
As far as an active war goes, I'm not going to go there. Incidents happen, and clearly we do not seek armed conflict with Russia, and I believe that at this point we should investigate this incident and move on from there. But we will continue to exercise our rights in international airspace.
All right, Chris, nobody wants to get into any sort of conflict at all. But, I wonder, to Kelly's point, is this just Russia testing us? We saw what happened with China. We've had experience with Iran. The administration, we haven't heard from the president yet. What do you think the administration needs to do at this point?
First of all, I think this is just another capitulation to hostile powers. We hear that same rhetoric when it comes to China. We want China to be a competitor of ours. It's not an enemy. We see with Russia what General just said. The reason that we weren't sending high-powered weapons to Ukraine is because we were worried about upsetting Ukraine or upsetting Russia. I don't think we need to worry about that. We need to be more forceful on the world stage. I think China and Russia view us as weak. You look at the examples of the spy balloon. You look at this example with the drone. We need to take some type of action to let these powers know that we're not going to stand for it.
Yeah, and I don't know. So if this is not an act of war, a Russian fighter jet forcing down a $32 million. Now, nobody died here, which is an important point. But this is not an act of war, according to Mark Milley, who went to high school with Rachel Levine, by the way, played football together. If this is not an act of war, I don't know what is. Now, look, the narrative is fine. We don't want to go to war with Russia, but I guarantee you Russia, Kelly, doesn't want to go to war with the United States. And hopefully that doesn't happen. But Kelly, just final point on this. Wasn't this bound to happen at some point? And won't it likely happen again? If this war stretches another year plus?
Yes, it will happen again. Things will escalate, and because there is no endpoint, right? The Biden administration has been just so unclear, clear as mud, in terms of what they think the endpoint should be in Ukraine. They said that we'll supply Ukraine with weapons for as long as it takes. Our support will be with Ukraine for as long as it takes, and however Ukraine wishes to solve this issue, we will be behind them. But we haven't heard exactly what our priorities are. What exactly we're going to do. We've been slow walking, perhaps prolonging the war by what we are providing to Ukraine. So I would like a clear strategy here, a clear endpoint articulated by the administration, because without that, incidents like this are just going to keep occurring.
I would love to hear the administration talk about peace talks. Those are like dirty words now. You can't say it. The only person talking about peace is the president of China, who's going to meet with Vladimir Putin next week in Moscow, by the way, and then have a Zoom call with President Zelensky, which will be fascinating. I want to move on, Kelly. Quick follow. The New York Post picked up on this banking crisis that's befallen us yet again. We saw what happened in 2008, 2 banks failing over the weekend, and now all eyes are on Credit Suisse. And apparently the Swiss government is going to support Credit Suisse with liquidity. That's what they're calling it. We called it backstop. Janet Yellen called it a backstop over the weekend. No one wants to say bailout, but Credit Suisse is being bailed out by the Swiss government, so one of the biggest banks on the planet doesn't collapse. What do you make of how careful everyone's being about the language we use to describe what's going on in the market right now?
You know, I think it's ridiculous. It's a bailout. So can we just call a woman, a man, a recession, a bailout is a bailout. There's no other way to look at this. We've bailed out SVB. It was, a very woke bank where the executives in charge made a lot of mistakes. It was mismanaged. And in my opinion, it should have gone belly up, but it was a bailout to billionaires, which are also Democratic donors.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mess right now. All right, I want to move on now to our VP, Kamala Harris. Take a listen to what she had to say about running with Joe Biden in 2024.
As our Joe Biden has said, he intends to run, and if he does, I will be running with him.
Okay, so he does intend to run.
All right, Chris, that was on the Stephen Colbert show. She was actually booed when she was going into the show by people in New York when she was in her car. So obviously some people not happy with her regarding the Willow Project. But what do you make of what she said? And I guess we've been out talking about this, but if Joe Biden decides to run, will he take Kamala Harris with him?
Well, it was great to see Kamala finally doing hard-hitting interviews on the Stephen Colbert show. But I think that there's no way they could drop Kamala Harris from the ticket, being the first African-American, Asian woman vice president, that if they dropped her from the ticket, there would be an absolute revolt among African-Americans within the Democratic Party. African-American females vote more than African-American males. And if they lose that vote, they can't win.
Yeah, we keep hearing that maybe Joe Biden would dump her from the ticket, which means that conversation is at least happening. I don't think it's going to happen, but that conversation is likely taken place. Kamala Harris's husband, I want to make sure I get this right, the second gentleman, was interviewed by the way, a former Kamala Harris staffer a day ago. Take a look.
What do you think is the most surprising thing about Vice President Harris that people out there don't know?
That they don't know?
Yes, and that you can say on this stage without us both getting in trouble. Now,
Well, she's like normal. She's exceedingly normal. She's an awesome wife. She loves to have fun. She loves to cook. She loves her family. She loves music.
Kelly, he's not even a politician, but that was the most generic answer I think I've ever heard. What? This is your wife. You've been married for 20 plus years.
Like just
Can you give me
first time.
something I wouldn't, read in the New York Times? Kelly, what do you make of this effort by the Democrats to try and clean up Kamala Harris's image ahead of this 2024 campaign?
Well, they've been trying to rehab her image for the last 2 years,
right?
And it hasn't really been successful. Her own staffers are disgruntled and complain about her and how ill-prepared she is to go into policy briefings. And if you look at the press the administration has been doing, Joe Biden did an interview with Comedy Central. Kamala Harris is going on the late-night talk shows. They haven't actually sat down with real journalists and been confronted with real questions. Joe Biden the other day, he basically said he supported gay rights when he was in college or in high school. And that just totally contradicts his entire record of 47 years in the U.S. Senate, all the way up to 2008. But he wasn't questioned on it. They just let it pass.
That was with the Kumar interview. Joey, they love each other.
Maybe they'll come on Wake Up America.
They love each other. Yeah, good point. Kelly Sadler, Chris Arps, great having you on this morning. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks.